What is up, my dudes? Welcome to the very first episode of Planet Zoo that I'm going to be doing. I've got on here and played a little bit. I got a gold medal or gold star rating on all of the career modes, including the newest DLC. So I wanted to familiarize myself with the game a little bit before I start my own zoo, and I think I have a good idea on how things are done in the game. So if we go back,
Hey! Hey!
here's my avatar.
Oh! Hey!
And we're gonna start a franchise. And I
Whoop.
believe you can have multiple franchises. Or, no, you can have one franchise with multiple zoos. What would you like to call it? Don't worry if you don't. Let's call it... Oh, that's a good question. Let's just put it as Viper Studios Incorporated. If you guys have a better suggestion for the franchise name, let me know in the comments and we can change it. And I just earned some more credits. I can't remember what they're called. We have 3 of them. We can edit our thing. Let's look at the badges. I already see one that I like, but let's see if there's any better. I mean, I was gonna go for the pangolin, but since it's Viper Studios, we should probably go for that. And the banner. Let's go for that one. So yeah, we can have number zoos, so we can have multiple zoos. Zoo cash. I'm not sure if we share the same amount of money across all of them. If so, that's kind of cool, but also strange. I'm gonna save it. Badge. Let's go for that. Confirm. Banner. Confirm. Now, if I close, let's start a new zoo. So our home base is in Japan. So we're gonna start our first zoo in Japan because I am a weeb. Let's do tropical. New zoo, select continent, Asia. Name zoo. Yeah, let's call it the Asiatic Retreat. I think that's good. And we'll create it. So we have enough credits to make 3 zoos, unless they get more expensive. I don't know if they will. If you come into this video for tips, number 1 tip is play with your game paused unless you have a source of income coming in. Never play with it running if you're losing money unless if you're doing these scenarios and you need just to wait for time for stuff, then I'd play on full speed if your money doesn't matter at that point. Like, I finished one of the scenarios with like a negative $80,000. But before we can do anything, we're gonna need staff. So we're gonna hire the minimum staff requirement. But we need to lay down some paths first. They give us $40,000 to start out with. I really like these natural paths, so I think I'm gonna stick with those. Let's put this here. Let's change the width to 8 and set. And I'm gonna build like a little circle here at the start. Sometimes the way the paths work is a little annoying. That looks good. And then maybe in the future we can put some exhibits in. Well, I don't really want any exhibits that close to the start because you don't want a backup of people right here. I'm thinking maybe. I hate how it does that. Okay, so if I can. Okay, just go straight. The paths are kind of annoying sometimes. They don't place how you would think they should. Okay. So now we're gonna have to do the same on this side. And then when we come back here, place it right there, and bam. That looks good. I don't know why I didn't place any sand right there. Okay, so this is where we got started out for the entrance. The zoo area is pretty big, but we're going to want to have like a central hub. And eventually we're going to have multiple of these, but we're going to want an area for all of our staff buildings, and they need to be separated from the where all the guests are going to be. And since we're starting out and we have 0 income, and in this first episode I plan on only placing 1 animal just to start out the series, so the income is going to be very slow, so we're going to want to hire the minimum amount of staff as possible just right now. But since this is going to be our central hub, we'll keep the path size at 7. If you make, I know in one of the scenarios I made my zoo basically a grid, which we're going to avoid doing. Let's see. If you build a grid style zoo with paths that are too small, the guest will get bunched up in places, and other guests and staff won't be able to pass them because the paths are too crowded. So for your more popular path areas, you want wider paths. Usually you don't have too many staff, so your staff paths don't matter too much. But for my main hub, I'm just going to stick with the 7 wide paths. So, for us to get any animals, we're going to need a trade center. Okay, so we're gonna need a workshop if we're going... Alright, we're just gonna build the bare bones at first, because I want to do everything Asian themed, and I don't want to waste my money. But as soon as we can, we need to start working on researching. So I'm probably going to want at least 2 workshops at a minimum. Let's see, we'll place there. But we're going to need a trade center, and then from the trade center they're going to go to quarantine. There's a certain... right there. Yeah, see, these things have negative impact on the guest, but the range is not very far, so you don't have to build out as far as I did, but it leaves room for expansion. But from the trade center they're going to go to quarantine. The building's a little annoying at times. I hope they update it, because you can't rotate it when you're in your grid mode. But the grid mode's really useful. And then from quarantine they're going to go to vet surgery if they're sick. So we'll place that across the path. And we'll want it right there. You literally just walk across. So do we need a keeper hut? No. Do we need quarantine? Got that. Staff room, research. Okay. Next we're gonna need a staff room for the staff to rest. Let's rotate. And select the grid. It's too close on that side. We'll put it there. And then we're going to want a research center, which we'll put right next to the vet place. And we'll want a workshop, which we'll just put right here. That's the minimum of what we need at the moment. So, for staff, before we can do anything with our animals, we're going to need staff. See, we're only going to be making $3 per person. And that's not a lot. But we don't need a caretaker, we'll want one once we start making money. We do need a keeper. We do need a mechanic. We don't need a security guard, we don't need a vendor, and we do need a vet. So, let's add work zone. This will be our entrance work zone. Close that. Oops. Okay, that's our entrance work zone. But since we're not making a lot of money, we can't pay them very much. And in the scenarios, I would just hire more staff when I needed more staff. But on my own zoo, I want to work towards leveling them up, training them, getting them to 5 stars. That way I need less employees, but I pay them more.
Hey.
Which I think will help us in the long run. And you'll be at the entrance work zone. Entrance work zone. And also entrance work zone. Okay. So that's the minimum amount of staff we have. And now since we have a vet, we can start researching. But we forgot about power. We need to power all of our facilities. The main entrance has power, so you don't have to worry about that. But we built just far enough away to where we'd need power. So, the vet can research stuff now, but we want it to research whatever our first animal is. And I don't know what that will be yet. And then I'm going to research the East Asia theme right away. I may hire a second mechanic to research something more important for the animals, like habitats and barriers. Gotta make sure I put the power in the work zone. Let's see, staff, work zones. Yep. So right now I'm gonna save my game because I want to do something that I'm not sure if it will use a lot of money or not. But I want to have a river running through the entire zoo, and I want to build around it, so I want to build it as early as possible. So we're gonna go to the terrain, and I think the fastest way would be to use this. And if I subtract, let's build like a round on. Actually, let's turn this whole corner. Let's increase it all the way up to 20. Here, I don't know if it's loud for you guys as it is for me. So I'm gonna turn that down to 50. Still pretty loud, but not nearly as bad. Okay, it doesn't. I can't go outside of the lines when I'm altering terrain. This tree's gonna have to go. Here's my river I built. I think it looks pretty natural, except for on the ends. But we'll cover that up with rocks when we get to that point of the zoo. Some spots don't look super natural, but I think over time, with us building habitats around it and buildings all around it, they're going to be distracting and also cover up things that you only wouldn't want to see and make it look more natural, basically. But as you can see, we have less than $2,000. So we're going to need to make some profit. The only way we can do that is if we have some animals. And like I said, I only want to do Asian animals. I'm not sure how the franchises work, if I can adopt any kind of animal. I'm not sure. It's weird because it says I can afford these, but I only have 200 conservation credits. Do I have any animal storage, any rewards, trade history, nothing. Okay, our aardvarks. We might not be able to do all Asian at first. Aardvarks are Africa. Okay, so Chinese pangolin. We're going to need a habitat that is grade 2 climb proof and 182 meters. And we'll need some extra room for their shelter. They are shy, but guests can enter habitats. I learned with the aardvarks, guests can enter their habitats But whenever the aardvarks are within view of the guest, their social goes down really far. So ideally, you don't want a guest in their habitat with them, because the aardvarks don't like it. But the same thing will happen to them if your barrier has glass. So ideally you want one-sided glass or reflective glass, and then that's how you get them perfectly happy. Otherwise, whenever they're in view of a guest, they're going to be their welfare is going to go down. So it's a grade 2 climb proof. So we don't want to use a transparent barrier, or at least not for the entire thing. They need an area to hide. Ideally for all the animals, you don't want the animals to know that there's humans looking at them. Some of the animals don't really care, but ideally you don't want them to know. I hate the corrugated barriers, but that's the perfect one. But I think I'm gonna go with brick. And we'll see if this little square that we gave ourselves here is plenty big enough or not. So here is our first habitat of the zoo. This is what the guests see. Actually looks really cool from this viewpoint. I would say so myself. And let's see if we can make any money from this. Or if we're just gonna lose money. I might let it run a while once I see that it's making profit, and then pay off my loan. But besides that, I think I'm going to end this episode here and hope for the best. I might do some fine tuning to get the profit going more, but I don't think we're going to be able to make much more profit unless we adopt more animals, which to start out with, I'm only going to be doing one animal per episode. We're making some profit a little bit, but I kind of want to pay off my loan, because once our loan is paid off, I'm not going to be too worried about the profit. Yeah, we're gaining money, but each year we're going to be losing some. So, thank you guys for watching. I hope you guys enjoy this new series, and I'll see you guys in the next episode. Peace out.